Oh, Abzal here. Baruch Hashem. So I want to share one of Rabbi Yoel's Chassidisher Gedanke from Parshas. Rabbi Yoel made a series of Sichos the Rebbe in a very brief form to give you like a Chassidic nugget from the Torah portion of the week to live with. People always think that Rabbi Yoel says his own teachings. He doesn't. Everything he says is from the Rebbe. But he puts in such a clear, easy to understand way so that you think it's something else. So with Hashem, when I post it, I'll find the source of it. But I just listened to Rabbi Yoel saying it this morning, so I could try to say it in the same easy to understand way. Hopefully, obviously, I'm not. I wasn't given the same gift, but anyways. But I just do want to share this. I think it's not okay that we don't have these things in English, because they're. I know, like when I learn something from Rabbi Yoel, it's like you could eat it. Like you feel nourished after you learn something from Rabbi Yoel. You learn something and then you feel, I got something. Okay, with no further ado. In the beginning of this 6 Torah portion, it says, Aikev tishmun, if you will keep the mitzvahs of Hashem, so Hashem will keep for you as a bris, as a ches, as a shua, the covenant, the kindness, and the oath that he swore to your ancestors. You keep their mitzvahs, and Hashem will keep all those good things. He'll give you the covenant and the kindness and the oath. We find this similar kind of exchange in a few other places in the Torah. For example, in Parshas B'chukosai, it says, if you'll keep my mitzvahs, so I'll give you rain in its season. Keep mitzvahs and you'll get a reward. And there are many other places in Torah where we find this in Shema, just Parshas V'eschanu. If you will listen to Parshas Aikev, if you will listen to my mitzvahs, Hashem says, I'll give you rain in its season. So there's something unique, however, over here. And what's unique is the Torah is describing here not just listening to mitzvahs in general, but listening to it in a very specific way. The Torah doesn't just say, if you will listen to the mitzvahs. The Torah says, Aikev, if you will Aikev the mitzvahs. What does Aikev mean? So it does mean if, but it also means to heal. And Rashi says this means, if you will listen to those mitzvahs that people usually step on, then Hashem will give you all these good things. So we're not just talking about listening to Hashem in general, but we're listening to Hashem in a way that you're paying attention to even those things that other people ignore or that you ignore, things that you usually might trample underfoot. That's the emphasis of this pasuk. What's surprising is like this: there are 3 words the Torah is using here to describe what Hashem is giving you. And each of these 3 words emphasize how Hashem is giving you something that should require less of you than more. And yet the Torah says here that in order to get these 3 things, which seem to be much easier to receive, that require less preparation to get, that require less of a vessel to get these 3 things, you have to do a lot more. Why do I say these 3 things are things that you should that should be easier to receive? Let's look at them one by one. First of all, there is the bris. What's a bris? Bris means that 2 people make a pact with each other, and they decide they're always going to love each other. They do love each other right now. That's why they're making this covenant, but they're afraid that their love may stop. So they make this promise to each other that the love will not stop. Why might it stop? Tomorrow there may be a new reason why Reuven shouldn't love Shimon. Today Reuven loves Shimon. Tomorrow there might crop up some reason in Reuven's life why he decides that Shimon isn't worth his time. So Reuven makes a decision that he's not going to let go of the love. So it's not dependent upon what Shimon may do or may not do. Reuven is deciding, I'm going to love Shimon no matter what. So that means that if we're talking about Hashem's covenant with Jewish people, Hashem is promising the Jewish people that He's going to give us something. He's talking about some kind of divine beneficence. Is that a word? Some kind of divine thing, divine flow of goodness that's going to come to us. Beneficence, right? It's a good word.
Beneficence.
Beneficence. Oh, thank you. Okay, good. Dr. Bressman, beneficence. Thank you. Okay, so some kind of divine gift. In order to get that gift, you have the Torah says you got to do something special. But we're not talking about something which should require anything. We're talking about a promise, which is in a promise in a way of a covenant that no matter what Hashem says, I'm going to be connected to the Jewish people. Let's take the other word. The shvuah. What's a shvuah? Shvuah is an oath. The Gemara says that people should, or they not nowadays, but it used to be something people would do, to make an oath that you're going to do a mitzvah. Nowadays we shouldn't do this because we may take the oath and not fulfill it. Not so as strong as people of previous generations. I don't know who said this, but they said the difference between American Chassidim and Russian Chassidim is American Chassidim are like twigs. You light them up and then, very excited, oh, yeah, let's do that. And then it disappears. Versus Russian Chassidim are like logs. You don't see that excitement, but they burn and burn all the way through. Anyway, so the idea of swearing to a mitzvah, why you swear to them? You want to do the mitzvah. That's why you want to make this oath, because you want to do it. So why you have to make an oath for it? The idea of making an oath to the mitzvah is that you're saying to yourself that this really matters to me, and I'm afraid that I may not have the impetus to do this tomorrow. So I'm swearing, I'm binding myself to this mitzvah in a way that's not just based upon how I understand and how I feel, the value of what I'm doing. I am making an oath and keep this mitzvah. So this says when you make an oath to do something, it unleashes your inner strength. So like your resolve to the mitzvah has some kind of, it's based upon logic, it's based upon your feeling. So tomorrow that may change. So you make an oath to keep the mitzvah, no matter how you feel, no matter what's going on tomorrow, you're still going to do the mitzvah. So what's an oath about? An oath is about something that you're deciding to do at all costs, no matter what you're going to do. So we're talking about the oath that Hashem swore to our forefathers. We're talking about something that Hashem is deciding to give us, irrespective of our behavior. Doesn't matter what we do. We're talking about something that Hashem says that no matter what you do, I swear to you, I swore to your fathers, to your ancestors, that I will be there and I will give you this beneficence. Okay, so that's the second. What's the third? The third word is chesed. What's chesed mean? Chesed means, kindness means, there's gvura. What's gvura? Gvura means that I am going to measure you and see if you are deserving or not deserving, if you need or if you don't need. And based upon how deserving you are, that's how much I will give you or not. Gvura is taking into consideration the person that you are judging. Gvura is about judgment. Chesed is something different. Chesed is, I want to give because I want to give. Chesed is, I want to do kindness because I want to do kindness. It's not about you. It's about being kind, about not measuring the other person, about not judging the other person, not being judgmental. Just about being kind because you want to be kind. You don't want to be judgmental. You're making a decision. I want to be generous. I want to be kind. I want to be good. And it's your lucky day. I'm going to do that for you. So that's what kindness is. So if Hashem is talking about His kindness, which doesn't tell you that Hashem's kindness is way beyond our kindness, doesn't tell you that Hashem's kindness is infinite. That's why the author mentions in the chapter 11 of Gersa Tshuva that even though we've make the same mistakes every single year, again and again and again, Hashem still forgives us. Why does He still forgive us? Author says when a human being, when you hurt someone badly, it's not easy for them to forgive you. If you go back and do the same thing to them again, it's much harder for them to forgive you. Do this a third and a fourth time. Gemara says that Jews forgive. That's the characteristic of a Jew. The reason why David HaMelech made a decree that the Gevinim are not allowed to marry into the Jewish people, although they're technically Jewish, was because they displayed cruelty. What was the cruelty that they displayed? Shaul HaMelech had killed from the Gevinim. He killed people, and they wanted it to take revenge and kill the children of Shaul. So David HaMelech asked them to forgive them, and they didn't forgive. And because they didn't forgive, David said they don't belong to the Jewish people. So forgiveness is something we're supposed to have. What's unique about Hashem's forgiveness? It's Hamar b'Lisnech. Hashem is infinite kindness, and therefore Hashem forgives us again and again and again, the 100th and the 1000th time, as if it was the first time. So we're talking about in this pasuk about Hashem's infinite kindness and Hashem's oath to always be there for us, and Hashem's covenant with the Jewish people. All of these items are things which shouldn't be dependent on something that we do. And yet the Torah doesn't just say that Hashem will give us these things if we keep mitzvahs a little bit. Like it says in Parshas, if you keep my mitzvahs, I'll give you rain in the season. Only here we're talking about things which it seems that these things are the kind that we shouldn't have to do anything. These are the things which should be for free. These things which are free, Hashem says you have to do more. Not just you have to keep Torah mitzvahs in general, but in order to get these specific items which should be for free, then you have to not just keep Torah mitzvahs in general, but you have to keep Torah mitzvahs in a way to even keep those things which people usually trample underfoot. And it's not sufficient that you're doing Torah mitzvahs. You have to do Torah mitzvahs in a way that's beyond the regular order, which is to keep even those mitzvahs that people usually ignore, people usually step on. But the opposite would make sense. You would think these are the things that Hashem gives us without us doing anything. So how come specifically for these items, which seem to be unconditional, Hashem doesn't just make a condition; He makes a harder condition than regular mitzvahs. The answer is like this. There are two kinds, in general, the answer is like this. It says in the Zohar, Hashem does not want us to have what's called nama d'chsufa. Hashem doesn't want us to have what's called shameful bread. You get something for free, you don't really enjoy it because you don't feel that you've earned it. And the Gemara says a person would rather have one measure of anything that he earned himself than 9 measures of the same thing that he gets for free from someone else. Parenthetically, the reason why Hashem made us with this nature, why did Hashem make us with this nature? Why couldn't Hashem make us with this with a nature of like, I like free things? And then we wouldn't have, Hashem wants us to work in order that we should feel full benefit of what we're doing, because if we'll be for free, we will feel ashamed by it. Hashem could have made us with a nature that we are okay with free things. But the reason Hashem made us specifically with the nature that we want to work to get what we have is because Hashem wants us to be a partner with Hashem in creation. Since Hashem wants us to be a partner with Him in creation, therefore Hashem wants us to He created us with this need of wanting to earn things ourselves. So there are 2 kinds of divine flow. There is a limited divine flow, which is dependent upon one kind of service of Hashem. And there's an infinite divine flow, which to get that kind of divine flow, it requires an infinite, a higher and infinite service of Hashem. The Ramami Pano is also a favorite of Rabbi Yoel. Rabbi Yoel will always repeat this particular Ramami Pano. Ramami Pano is a Kabbalist, and he had a teaching on the pasuk. It says, "My beloved ran to the mountains, the fragrant mountains, the mountain of Psamim." Mountains of Psamim are very tall mountains, and this is in Song of Songs. And the Ramami Pano says that the mountain, the fragrant mountains, refer to a very lofty divine light. Why does it refer to lofty divine light? Because it refers to a high mountain. Those mountains were very tall mountains. Since they're tall mountains, they refer to lofty divine light. 1 second. Just because they're tall mountains, what do they have to do with lofty divine light? This guy told Rabbi Golam Shpien 770, he said to him, I'll put on tefillin on one condition. Can answer my question. Can God create a rock that He cannot lift? The Golam immediately said out thinking, he says, why are you asking about a rock? Why don't you ask about a feather? The guy was blown away. He put on tefillin. So we have our set of things we think are big and small. From Hashem's perspective, a mountain isn't big and a pebble isn't small. Why is that the analogy of divine light? So the Memi Pano says that even though in Hashem's world, from the perspective of Hashem, a big mountain doesn't have anything to do with it, a higher divine light, but Hashem in the Torah, He gives us things in the Torah which have some relevance to our world. Since in our world, in our language, a tall mountain, something big, therefore represents a bigger, higher light. There are Memi Pano. I'll text it to you later. Is Mi Pano, from Pano. Rameh. As opposed to Ramah, Rameh. Okay. So analogy of Rabbi Yil from Chassidus. It says in Shlab Hashem with all your might, right? All your might. What's all your might? For you, all your might means to learn a half hour a day. It takes every fiber of your being to learn a half hour a day. For another person, a half hour a day is a walk in the park. It's not even a walk in the park. It's like negligible. That's easy. But when you serve Hashem beyond your limitation, that also triggers from Hashem a divine light that's beyond the limitation. You went beyond your limit. You went you went all the way for you. So that what gives you, Hashem responds to you according to what's according to you. So since you went beyond limitation, that brings down from Hashem also something beyond limitation. Even though it's not really, what you're doing is not beyond limitation. It's not only beyond Hashem's limitations. It's not beyond another person's limitation. But since for you it's beyond limitation, it also causes something, it draws down something which is infinite. So getting back to the divine flow that Hashem gives us in this week's Torah portion. Hashem tells us He gives us in this week's Torah portion. Hashem says, if you will keep my mitzvahs, how will you keep my mitzvahs? You will keep those mitzvahs which people usually trample underfoot. Then I will give you these three things. Why does Hashem require us to do more to get these three things? Because these three items that we're talking about in this week's Torah portion are all infinite. They're all, let's take the first one, a bris, a covenant. You're deciding to love someone because let's say you ordinarily, how does love work? You love someone, it says in Song of Songs very simply, it says, just like water reflects your face, so too the feelings you have in your heart are reflected in the heart of another. So the more you love someone, the more they love you back. The more you appreciate another person's goodness, another person's kindness, and how special someone is, how wonderful someone is, that's how much you love them based upon their virtues and your appreciation of their virtues. There's a limited relationship. When the person loses those virtues and they stop acting so kindly and so nicely and so wonderfully, you stop loving them, or you love them less, depending on what they still have. Usually people don't work that way, actually. Usually someone has a flaw, and if you're used to someone being very, very amazing, and they have this flaw in your head because you're expecting a different kind of conduct, that person to you becomes worse than another person. Whatever. Just aside. Anyway, so ordinarily relationship has a limitation. Reuven loves Shimon in a limited way according to the virtues of Shimon. What's a covenant mean? Reuven loves Shimon he's going to love Shimon no matter what. Why is loving him no matter what? Because he's not loving him because of the virtues of Shimon. His love is coming from his essence. The covenant means that he's promising to always love him. Why is he going to always love him? Because it's not coming from. If you love someone because it makes sense to love them, you're using something external in you to generate emotions towards the other person. So you're tapping into the externality, to superficiality of the other person, to their intellect, to their feelings, to their behavior. And that's what's generating in you positive feelings toward that person. You're reaching out to the externality of the other person, and that's generating you some also external feelings. It's not summoning your core, not summoning your essence. On the other hand, when you make a covenant with someone, the idea of a covenant is that you decide that you're not that this person matters to you. It matters to you in a way that doesn't matter if they lose those virtues, doesn't matter if they have that they care about you the same way, doesn't matter. Even if they stop caring about you and they don't care about you at all, you still your essence is connected to that person, and no matter what, you're still going to love that person anyways. That's the idea of a bris. Similarly, a shvua. What's the meaning of a shvua? You want to do something, so do it. Why are you swearing? The idea of a shvua is, again, you're swearing to a mitzvah. That means you're connecting yourself with this mitzvah in your very essence. Your essence, your very being is attached to this mitzvah. And same is also with chesed. So Hashem is saying to us, there is a kind of divine flow which is limited. And that's triggered, that's brought down to the world through a limited service of Hashem. but to bring down this infinite light of Hashem. Hashem doesn't want us to be for free because doesn't want us to have shameful bread. He wants us to give us the ultimate good, the best kind of good. And therefore Hashem wants us specifically to do something that would merit this infinite divine flow. To give us this infinite divine flow, Hashem wants us to do first something that's infinite in ourselves. So everything is always, every kind of feeling always has expression. When you feel a certain way, it always comes out. You never have a, human beings are like that. You feel a certain way, it's going to be expressed a certain way. It's going to come out in your behavior. Your feelings always are mirrored in your behavior. So we're talking about making a devotion, having a devotion, a mesiras nefesh, devotion to Hashem, which is beyond logic and reason. How do we see that expressed in our life? So what does Rashi say? Rashi says, what will give you the bris and the chesed in this rule? What will give you Hashem's covenant and kindness and oath? What will give it to you is the Aikev, keeping mitzvahs that people usually trample underfoot. Why is that the thing that triggers this kind of divine flow? Why do mitzvahs? What makes you want to do mitzvahs? Some people do mitzvahs because they feel the value of mitzvahs. Mitzvahs are good things. They feel the goodness and the sweetness and the pleasantness of a mitzvah, and therefore they do the mitzvahs. Mitzvahs are there are 240 limbs of the body, which correspond to the 248 mitzvahs, which correspond to 248 kinds of divine flow. So there are some mitzvahs which are head mitzvahs, some mitzvahs which are heart mitzvahs, some mitzvahs which you know that they're valuable, and you keep those mitzvahs more carefully because you know these are big ones. You don't want to miss eating matzah night of the Seder. You don't want to miss fasting in Yom Kippur. You know those are big ones. So that's your relationship to mitzvahs. If you're serving Hashem based upon the value of the relationship, based upon the value of the mitzvahs. If you're measuring the mitzvahs, then some mitzvahs matter more and some mitzvahs matter less because you're looking at the mitzvahs, right, as how much value they have. So therefore, you do them. Your performance of them is based upon that, on how much you understand how valuable they are, and how much you understand how valuable they are that day. Then there's another way of serving Hashem, and that is that you have a devotion to Hashem which is infinite, and it's not because it's a bigger mitzvah, not because it's a smaller mitzvah. It's because it's Hashem's thing. Hashem said to do it. Doesn't matter what it is. Doesn't matter if it's a minhag. Doesn't matter if it's the Raisa, the Rabbanon. You are devoted to the Eibishter. You're devoted to Hashem. Since you're devoted to Hashem, doesn't matter if he's asking you to do a minhag, he's asking you to do a din of the Rabbanon and the Raisa. It matters that Hashem wants this. There's no difference from Hashem's perspective in how they're both things He wants. So when a Jew serves Hashem in a way of he puts his core in the mitzvahs, puts his essence in the mitzvahs. And how do you see that? That he even keeps those mitzvahs that people usually trample on the foot. That those aren't important. Then Hashem responds to him. Hashem gives also to the divine flow to this person, which is also infinite, which is also beyond all limitation. Hashem gives us the shvuah and the chesed and the bris. When we devote Hashem to ourselves to Hashem from our essence, Hashem also responds and He reveals to us and He gives to us this infinite divine flow which comes from Hashem's essence. Questions, comments, criticism? Chalmar made a face. I don't know if that means.
Sure.
Practically, you usually trample on their foot. People.
Talking during davening.
Hey.
Someone might struggle with that, but at least it has like a very like you're doing it or you're not doing it. Right?
It's true. If it's immeasurable, it's much easier to. We were discussing yesterday the mitzvah of knowing Hashem. Do you do that mitzvah today? The mitzvah says that if you don't do that mitzvah, you don't think about Hashem's oneness every day. It's worse than not putting on tefillin. Don't put on tefillin. Mitzvah says you're rebelling against Hashem with your body. The Gemara says someone doesn't put on tefillin, they're rebelling against Hashem with their body. Someone doesn't think about the greatness of Hashem, the oneness of Hashem. Mitzvah says he's rebelling against Hashem with his soul. He's rejecting Hashem with his soul. So yeah, we don't really know, but let's say that. Okay, so after that one, mitzvah is so important. That's my relationship to There are three things the Gemara says people always trample underfoot. The Gemara says, Bittul Teira, Avak Lashon Hara, Gurei Aveda, things that people, it doesn't matter. So the Rambam says, let's many more, and it's true. Yeah, but whatever it is for me, why am I making that distinction? I'm making that distinction because that's how I look at the whole thing. It's not about Hashem. It's about how valuable the things He said are. This is a big one. This is a small one. This is an in-betweener. But if I value Hashem Himself, if I devote myself to Hashem, doesn't matter. Then Hashem also responds and devotes Himself to me also in an infinite way.
There are different levels to mitzvahs, but our perception might be off, right? It's not. That's the one of the angles. It's like trampling on those. Don't think your logic of which one's the big one. That might be inaccurate.
That's true too. You may be inaccurate, but the language of Pirkei Avos is don't sit and measure the mitzvahs. Why shouldn't you measure them? The Mishnah says because they're all equal. There is a rule in the Torah that if something is a safek daraisa, is a doubt of a biblical obligation, you have to be strict. If something is a doubt of a rabbinic obligation, you're lenient. But that's just because Hashem said so. It's not because this is something Hashem wants less, Hashem wants more. They're both the will of Hashem. And Hashem says that He wants the safek daraisa to be l'chumra, so they're abundant l'kula. Want to put on tefillin? Okay, let's do that.